You rescued her?" The words echoed like thunder inside the high chamber of the Threxan conclave. But this story begins days before, on the cursed surface of Varkosnine, a planet-sized prison moon lost to time, built by forgotten architects, and now ruled by malfunctioning drones and the corpses of forgotten wars. Captain Jace Thorne didn't mean to land there. One moment he was chasing a rogue signal through a decaying nebula. The next, his ship the Seraph Hound was caught in an artificial gravity snare, dragging him into Varkosnine's iron atmosphere like a fly into a Black Widow's web. His last transmission to Fleet Command was cut off mid-sentence. No one knew he survived. No one was coming. Smoke filled the cockpit as Jace slammed against the restraints, alarms wailing. The ship tore through rust-colored clouds, fire licking its wings. "All right, baby, just get me on the ground," he muttered, gripping the yoke. Lightning arced through the sky, but it wasn't natural. It moved like it was hunting him as he crashed through the skeletal remains of a derelict tower. Metal screamed and gravity buckled, but somehow, miraculously, he hit dirt instead of becoming it. Jace stumbled out of the burning wreckage, coughing, every muscle screaming. The air was thick with iron and ozone. Ruins stretched into the horizon like bones of a dead civilization. Black towers leaned at impossible angles, and broken statues half human, half something else loomed, like forgotten gods. His HUD flickered. No signals, no life signs, except one, deep underground, faint, unstable. "Guess we're not alone," he muttered, cocking his pulse rifle. By hour 2. He'd already killed 3 feral constructs, metallic insect thing with hollow skulls and teeth made from broken glass. They bled rust. They screamed like children. Whatever this place once was, it had turned into a house of nightmares. And still, that single signal pulsed beneath the ground like a heartbeat, trapped in stone. Jace followed it. The entrance was hidden beneath a collapsed cathedral-like ruin. Inside, ancient glyphs glowed faintly on cracked obsidian walls. Vines moved, as if they had minds. At the end of a spiraling descent, he found her. Vae, La. She was chained to a floating slab of gravestone. Her body was covered in scars, some ancient, some fresh. Her skin shimmered a shade between silver and midnight. Her eyes closed, flashed open the moment he stepped in. They weren't human. They weren't sane. They were filled with war. Jace froze. "Well, you're not what I expected," he said aloud, hand on his weapon. She didn't speak. She growled. Then the room shuddered. Something massive stirred deeper in the dark. Security awakened. Red lights blinked to life. Drone servitors screeched. From metal hatches, Jace spun, fired. 1 down, 2, 3. Then, he turned and saw the chains around Vela begin to retract into the walls, preparing her execution. He hesitated. Orders would say leave her. His guts screamed free her. He swore, under his breath, and fired at the chain locks. The last shackle exploded. Vela dropped to her knees. Her first breath sounded like it had waited 1,000 years. "Why?" she asked in a voice that sounded like stars dying. "Because," Jace replied, hauling her up. "Something tells me you're not the villain. They painted you as..." She tilted her head, eyes narrowing. "You're either a fool, or very brave." "Story of my life," he smirked. "Now, let's get the hell out before this place feeds us to the walls." They ran. Drones screamed behind them. The walls shifted like a maze built to confuse gods. Vela limped, her strength returning slowly. Jace shouldered her weight without complaint. At one point, she hissed, "Don't touch me," but didn't pull away. He noticed her hand never let go of his sleeve. They reached a sealed blast door. Behind it, something banged loud, deliberate, like a thing that knew patience. "Uh-oh," Jace muttered. Vela's expression changed. "It's the null beast. They left it to guard me." "Charming." He searched the console. dead ideas. She stepped forward, placed her hand on the door and sang. The sound was low, alien, mournful. The door opened. Music, Jace asked. Blood song, she corrected. You don't want to know the price. The null beast was waiting. A massive fusion of flesh and armor, eyes stitched shut, mouth sealed by molten chain. It moved by. Sensing fear, Jace raised his weapon. Vela stopped him. It won't attack unless you give it a reason. He looked at her. That's great, except I'm leaking adrenaline. She turned toward the beast and whispered something in a language no human throat could mimic. It bowed. Bowed. They passed the monster like ghosts. Okay, Jace whispered. I definitely need a drink after this. Vela didn't laugh, but she smiled. A small, jagged thing, but real. They reached the surface just as another storm rolled across the moon. Lightning crashed into ruined towers. Jace's beacon finally rebooted. A single pulse reached the fleet. Extraction inbound. The screen blinked. He turned to Vela. You coming with me? She stared at the clouds like they were old enemies. I was built for this place, born in it, molded by it. Jace snorted. You sound like a villain. I was, she said. Then I met you. Jace looked at her, really looked. Then, let's see what happens when you're free. Vela's expression softened, but just before the shuttle broke atmosphere, she whispered, they'll never forgive you for this. Not the humans, not my people. You saved the executioner. I didn't save an executioner, Jace replied. I saved you. The shuttle's thrusters hummed as it pierced through the atmosphere of Varkos 9, carving a path back to civilization. Jace sat with his pulse rifle resting against his knee, gaze fixed out the side viewport. Stars blinked into view, one by one, as the prison moon shrank behind them, but he didn't feel relief. Not yet. Not with her sitting across from him. Vela hadn't spoken a word since boarding. She stared ahead, arms folded tightly across her chest, wrists still bruised from the ancient manacles. Her eyes, those silver-lit voids, were unreadable. She sat too still, like a coiled weapon forced into stillness, not peace. Jace could feel the tension radiating off her like heat from an engine about to melt down. He broke the silence. So, executioner. She tilted her head slightly, but didn't answer. Look, I don't care what title they gave you. Doesn't change what I saw down there. You were a prisoner. You bled. You were chained. That's all I need to know. Her lips curled slightly. You speak like your world runs on empathy. Jace smirked. Nah, it runs on war, debt, and poorly written protocols. But I've learned to go with my gut. Saved my life more than orders ever did. Vela looked at him then, really looked, and for the first time, something flickered behind her eyes. That wasn't made of steel or blood. Maybe confusion, maybe curiosity, maybe the early bloom of trust as the shuttle docked with the Crucible. A Federation dreadnought, currently orbiting the sector. Jace stood and slung his rifle over his shoulder. Vela didn't move. They're going to try to separate us, he said quietly. I know. They'll want answers. Then they'll want revenge. She stood, straightened her back, and turned to face him, then let them come. The docking bay hissed open to a wall of armed security. Rifles raised, power armor primed. Half a dozen admirals stood behind a line of blast shields, staring like he'd walked in dragging a nuclear bomb. Which, to them, he had. Jace raised his hands. Captain Thorn, Galactic Recon. I have one guest. Step away from the prisoner, barked Admiral Syra, her voice clipped and furious. She's not a prisoner, Jace said calmly. She's under my protection. That, another admiral spat, is Vela Theris, the butcher of the 9th spiral. She dissolved the planet, Captain. With her voice, Vela didn't flinch. And yet Jace said, someone chained her to a stone and left her to rot in the dark. Guess even executioners have expiration dates. The room tensed. Fingers hovered over triggers. Power cores hummed louder. She's a living war crime, Syra said. She's not even supposed to exist. And yet, Jace repeated, here she is, alive, breathing, bleeding. Which means someone wanted her forgotten more than dead. Admiral Holt, older than the rest, stepped forward. Take them to quarantine. Separate rooms. Full psychic. Screening. No contact. Jace stepped in front of Vela. You touch her, I walk. You cage her, she breaks out, and I let her. You're risking a court-martial for a war criminal. Syra barked. I'm risking it for the truth, Jace, said Dot. They placed them in adjacent quarters, sterile gray, and thick with surveillance tech. Jace paced his room like a lion, ignoring the drones hovering at the corners. No bed, no comfort. Just walls, and a silent pressure that never stopped pressing. Across the wall, Vela sat still in the center of her room, eyes closed, her mind drifting through threads of memory. Torture, trials, screams, 1,000 names of the dead. But beneath it all, now a single image, a human, standing between her and execution. Why? She didn't trust it. Couldn't. Trust was a weakness, but it pulsed inside her like a glitch in her biology. Hours passed. Then a voice crackled through. Jace has come. Captain, you've been summoned. The interrogation chamber was circular. No table. Just a ring of admirals standing above, and Jace alone in the center, like a gladiator about to be judged. We want the full account, Syra demanded. JACE gave it. Every detail. The crash, the signal, the ruin, the chains, her voice, her mercy, his choice. When he was done, no one spoke for a long moment. Then Holt asked the question that mattered. Do you believe she's still a threat? Jace met every eye. Only if we make her one. Syra leaned in. Then pray you're right, Captain, because if she breathes wrong, the next person she kills will be you. That night, back in his cell, Jace heard a whisper. Are you still awake? It wasn't a voice over the cum. It was inside his mind. He blinked, sat up. Vela. Your thoughts are loud, she said. You don't shield them well. Sorry, he muttered. It's been a long day. You've made enemies. I'm used to it. A pause. You shouldn't have done it, she said. I didn't rescue you for you, he replied. I did it because no one else would. Silence. ... Thank you, she whispered, as if the words burned her mouth to say. In the days that followed, things shifted. The ship ran on edge. Officers avoided Jace. Some called him the traitor, others the executioner's pet. But Vela remained silent, cooperative, eerily calm. Her tests revealed she no longer accessed the deep weapons embedded in her biology. Either they were gone, or she was choosing restraint. One night, Jace found her on the observation deck. Stars wheeled by in silence. She stood with her hands folded behind her, eyes reflecting constellations he didn't know. You don't sleep? He asked. I do. I just don't dream. Not anymore. He stood beside her. For a long while, neither spoke. They fear you, he said at last. They should, but I don't. That, she said, turning to him, is what scares me. He looked into her eyes and saw no malice, only loneliness buried in layers of armor, pain, and time. You ever wish you could start over? He asked. She looked away. Starting over implies something left to build from. I think you've got more than you realize. He touched her hand lightly. She didn't flinch. This time, she didn't pull away. The next morning, alarms blared. An unknown ship had appeared. Threxan origin. No signal. No identification. Just one message. Return the executioner. Or we burn the stars to take her back. Take her back. There was no reply to the threat. No bluff. No negotiation. The Threxan warship hung in space like a scar. Black, angular, and radiating ancient energy signatures that didn't match any known technology. It didn't send warnings. It just waited, coiled in silence, as if daring the Federation to make a mistake. Admiral Cyrus stood before Jace with murder in her eyes. "This is the war you've invited. You and your monster." "She's not a monster," Jace snapped. "She's the only reason we even got a chance to prepare. The Threxans don't bluff," Holt added grimly. "And we haven't seen a ship like that since the Eidolon siege. That wasn't a battle. It was erasure." In the corner of the room, silent, unmoving, stood Vae La. Jac turned to her. "Do you know it?" She didn't answer. "Vela." Finally, she nodded. "It's not a warship. It's a collector." The room froze. "They're not here to fight. They're here to reclaim me, or incinerate every witness." The Federation gave her one choice: surrender or be turned over by force. They were cowards. Jace saw it in their eyes. What scared them wasn't Vela's past. It was her power, her mystery, her control. They were used to enemies who screamed and charged. Vela said nothing and waited. That night, Jace visited her quarters. She was watching old Hallis, earth things, nature, music. A violin loop repeated softly in the background. "You learning to be human?" he asked, leaning in the doorway. "I'm remembering how to pretend," she replied. He sat beside her, close. "You ever going to tell me the truth?" "What truth?" "What you are." Her silence stretched. Then, quietly, "I was made in a crucible, not born. Forged to carry out what no soldier could. I didn't just kill. I unmade. My voice, my scream, it disrupts neural harmonics across 100 species. I was efficient," he exhaled. "And you regret it?" She didn't look at him. "I regret what I never learned to become, because they never let me be anything else." Jace reached out, took her hand. "They don't get to decide who you are now." "You do." She gripped his fingers, tight, not trembling, steady. "Then let's decide something together." The Threxan warship didn't wait forever. On the third day, it launched a single pod organic, covered in bone-like armor, etched with words no human could read. It slammed into the crucible's hull like a spear. Security swarmed. Inside the pod, a humanoid figure, tall, pale, tattooed in fractal geometry, and blindfolded. The emissary. It didn't speak out loud. Instead, it transmitted one phrase to every mind on the ship: return the weapon, or burn with it. In the chaos that followed, Vela slipped out of confinement. Not with violence, with silence. No alarms, no resistance. The door opened for her, as if metal itself remembered what it feared. Jace met her near the forward launch hangar, heart pounding. "They're going to fire on the ship. They won't risk the galaxy knowing," Vela said. "They'll collapse this entire system if they must. Scrub the records, rewrite the stars, then we run." Vela turned her face to him. "You still trust me, after what I've admitted?" "I don't care what you did back then," Jace said. "I care who stands with me now." She blinked. That flicker of disbelief again. Then, Warmth. They took a stealth pod. One barely registered by radar. The hangar staff looked the other way. Or perhaps they were afraid to stop her. Jace prepped the launch, while Vela stood at the VIEWPORT. As the stars slid by, she whispered, "There's a place, a vault buried inside a dead system. That's where they built me. If we want answers, it's there. You think they'll follow? They'll try. But they fear that place even more than they fear me." They arrived to Jumps. Later, a hollow planet, a shattered moon drifting nearby like a cracked skull. In orbit, debris, shards of towers, dormant machines. Time had forgotten it, but Vela had not. As the ship touched down, Jace watched her face. Her breathing slowed. Her eyes changed. Whatever mask she'd worn since VAR cost-9 ... cracked. This was my first memory, she said quietly, before words, before killing. A voice saying, "This one will survive. Together." They walked into the dark. Beneath the surface, the facility still lived. Lights flickered. Doors opened to her presence. Walls whispered secrets in languages Jace didn't understand. In a chamber filled with tanks, some shattered, others still humming. He saw them. Others like her, smaller, incomplete, failed versions. Some still floated inside, eyes open but lifeless. They weren't making soldiers, Jace said. They were making weapons. Vela approached a console. Her fingers danced across it, fluid, familiar. A hologram bloomed. Her creator, Alien.com. Dispassionate. Project Vela. Voice-activated erasure-level asset. Self-modifying. Command-resistant. Hyper-resonant hybrid. Genetic kill switch embedded in the cortex. Activation requires the recording glitched. Red lines. Distortion. Then a new phrase echoed. ERROR. Subject override detected. Personality divergence confirmed. Jace looked at her. You broke their control. Vela's voice was like smoke. I learned how to feel, and it ruined their design. You were never a weapon. You were a miracle. She turned to him, and for the first time, she smiled without sadness. But miracles come at a cost. From orbit, the Threxan warship descended. It had tracked them. It was here to finish the job, not capture, not negotiate. Obliterate. The sky screamed as energy cannons charged. Jace grabbed Vela's hand. What do we do? Her eyes burned like twin suns. We wake up the others. The sirens didn't scream. They whispered. Cold, robotic pulses echoed through the ancient halls of the vault, like a heartbeat skipping after centuries of stillness. Lights flickered across the containment tanks, some shattered, some whole, and some starting to glow. JACE stood behind Vela, pulse rifle ready, but useless. You sure you want to do this? No, she said softly. But if we run now, they'll hunt us forever. This is the only place they fear. And I need them to remember why. The Threxan warship had entered low orbit, blocking sunlight like a planetary wound. It wasn't alone anymore. Two more signatures appeared behind it. Federation ships. Syra's orders were clear. Capture or destroy Vela before she activates anything buried in this tomb. But Jace knew something they didn't. She already had. Vela extended her hand toward a dormant panel. Her fingers brushed the surface hand. The wall responded like it breathed. Glyphs lit up in violet, coiling in circular patterns. The ground trembled. And then came the sound, a deep, resonant hum that wasn't mechanical. It was alive. Jace spun as containment chambers cracked, open around them. Glass mist, shadows. The first to emerge was smaller than Vela, taller than Jace Hit's body, etched in spiraling scars. Its eyes glowing silver white. The second one dragged, a broken leg, yet moved with impossible grace. The third was missing half a face, but it smiled, like it remembered pain as an old friend. Vela stepped forward. They were like me, coded, controlled, but I was the first to override. I didn't just break free, I woke up, and now I'll show them how. One of the reawakened experiments designation, V4, tilted its head. You broke protocol. Vela nodded. I broke everything. You can follow me, or stay here and rot. There was a silence. Then, the one with the broken leg bowed. Override accepted. Vela Theris. Directive transferred. Jace's mouth dropped. Did you just become their queen? Vela smirked. Call it a family reunion. Outside, the Threxan collector ship began charging its main cannon. On the bridge of the Crucible, Admiral Syra watched the energy signature rise. If it fires, This planet's gone. Send the kill squad down now. No time, said Admiral Holt. We either engage, or we lose both of them. They're all abominations. Syra snapped. She activated them. What more do you need? But Holt didn't answer. His eyes were locked on the live feed, and in the middle of it, Jace Thorne was standing with a weapon aimed at the camera, not at Vela, at the Federation drone recording her dot down in the vault. Jace moved alongside Vela and her newly awakened siblings as the ground cracked beneath their feet. How many are there? He asked. 72, she said. Only 8 still functional. The rest? Shadows, broken minds. They'll fight, but they don't know why anymore. He looked around at the others. Some were whispering to walls, others simply staring at the stars. Sounds like most people I know. Vela turned to him. They didn't design us for companionship or trust, but I learned those things because of you. Now they're learning too. One of the others, V9, spoke. Incoming heat signatures. Atmospheric breach. Contact in 90 seconds. Jace flicked the safety off his rifle. Guess it's party time. The drop pods hit like thunder. Federation Black Ops troopers spilled into the vault's upper ring. Clad in chromatic armor, weapons primed, faces blank, targets invisual. Orders are live fire. Terminate all anomalies. Jace took cover. Vela didn't. She walked into open space, arms spread. The soldiers hesitated. Only a second, but that was all she needed. With a soundless pulse, her voice exploded. Not loud, not violent, perfectly harmonic. Soldiers froze, armor cracked, weapons shorted, the air itself shimmered. Then the wave passed. All but 2 collapsed. Jace stepped out. You're holding back. I'm tired of death, she said. Even when it's justified. One of the troopers groaned. Jace knelt beside him. They don't know what's happening. They're pawns. Vela looked away. So were we, once. In orbit, the Threxan ship locked onto the vault's core, and then it fired. A beam of compressed gravitational distortion shot through the crust like a divine spear. Jace screamed Vela's name, but she was already moving. She sang, not words, just sound, frequency, vibration, a language older than time, born from pain, memory, and rebellion. The very stone of the vault shifted in answer. Runes flared. Power surged through the skeleton of the planet. The beam bent redirected. It slammed back into the Threxan ship's own flank, severing one of its GRAV-pylons. Screams echoed across their comms. Inhuman, furious Vela dropped to one knee, bleeding, eyes dimming. I can't hold it much longer. Jace caught her. Then don't. Let them see what happens when we stand together. Above, the Threxan ship prepared to fire again, until it was interrupted. The crucible had turned. Syra's face appeared on screen to Holt. What the hell are you doing? You're not authorized. We just watched a living weapon save our people. If you can't see what that means, you don't belong in this galaxy. He opened a channel to the collector. You want her. Come and get her. The crucible fired first. The vault became a battlefield. Federation defectors joined Jace. The awakened Vela clones held the lower levels. The Threxan boarding pods breached from above, pouring in like cancer. Jace fought side by side with Vela, their movements instinctive, fluid, perfectly matched. He covered her blind spots. She shattered enemies before they reached him. Between explosions, they touched. A hand, a glance, a wordless vow. At one point, Vela fell shoulder burned. Jace shielded her with his body, yelling into the fire. She's not your weapon. She's mine. She looked up, blood on her lips. You'd die for me. I already did, he said. And then he kissed her. Not desperation, not fear, but defiance, passion. A bond forged in war. and built on the ruins of what they were told to be. At the final hour, the Threxan collector overloaded. It began to implode, and Vela, with the last of her power, sang one last time. The vault sealed behind them. A protective cocoon of ancient shielding wrapped the remaining survivors. Above, the collector disappeared into a singularity of its own, making its death a silent scream across space. And in that silence came peace. Jace and Vela sat beneath the collapsed roof of the vault, stars flickering through the dust. She leaned against him. "I was built to destroy worlds," she said. "Maybe," Jace replied, "but you just saved one." She looked up. "You think they'll ever accept me?" He smiled. "They'll have to, because I'm not letting you go." And for once, Vela didn't feel like a weapon, or a ghost, or a tool. She felt like a person.